Hello, everyone. Today, we'll be talking about Google search operators. Now, one good tool for fact checkers is to know how to use Google search operators. Now, why do we say this? Because when we do our searches on Google, I'm sure you realize, you find that you get all sorts of search results. It's not specific or narrowed down to what we want to look for. So, fortunately, there are little pro tips on how to effectively use the search engine. Now, one thing that we want to talk about when we talk about search operators is that, when we use those search operators, you must always remember to never have spaces in between. So remember that between the colon or whatever unique identifier, you need to make sure that there is no spaces in between. Otherwise, you will not get the search result. So one example here is that we can use the minus sign to eliminate some keywords. In this case, the example that we use is bears. Now, when we search bears, we get, well, either the animal bears or we get this team in the US, sports team in the US that's called Chicago Bears. Now, what we're going to do is that we want the animal bears, we don't want Chicago Bears, so we would use bears and then we use minus Chicago. Remember, no space in the middle. Yes, and after that, you will only get the result, which is bear the animal. So remember, again, minus Chicago has no space in between. Now, the other thing that we want to talk about is search a website or domain using the cite double dot operator. Now, cite double dot, and then you list down your domain of website or search and with your keyword. So in this case, again, cite double dot, no space, the domain link, and then your keyword. In this case, we're actually looking for mentions of the word search on Olsen Essentials website. Now, usually when we look for information, we would, tend to look for information that's published on the government websites, but scrolling through government websites can be really a huge pain. So we use Google in order to narrow down the results to certain government sites, pages that we want to look for. So using a top-level domain instead of a site address would provide you a better and more accurate search result. So basically, we know that all government websites use the same top-level domain, no matter what ministry they are. They usually all end up with gov something. And non-government entities are not allowed to use these domains, right? So for example, if you're in Singapore, all government sites would end with gov.sg. In Malaysia, it's gov.my, or in Philippines, it's gov.ph. So we know these are the top-level domains, and we will tend to use that. Now, we also use file type when you want to look for, say, documents, right? And we will tend to use file type double dot, again, no space. Perhaps you want to use XLS or PDF. But also remember that, with basically Microsoft Office, there is the .tpt, but there is also .pptx, as is there is .doc, but there is also .docx. So things like that you have to bear in mind. And once in this case, we use file type double dot XLS, and we want to look for basically Excel file that has the word payments. And there's also this quotation marks. So quotation marks is useful when you want to look for a specific phrase. So in general, the Google algorithm is good to recognize that what you want when you type in a normal keyword search terms. But as always, it's always a good practice to use the quotation mark to only get search results in particular to the specific phrase that you want. In this case, instead of searching just normally as typing in COVID vaccine research, we can actually put in quotation mark COVID vaccine research, which means all our research will come back, search results will come back with only links that has this exact phrase COVID vaccine research back to back. Now, you can also combine all the different search operators that we mentioned earlier onto your Google search. In this case, you can use the cite double dot feature along with the file type double dot feature along with your quotation mark feature. Now, remember cite double dot, and in this case, no space, .gov, and then space, file type double dot, no space, PDF, and then space, in quotation mark, violent crime, would yield you whatever documents that are in PDF format published on the .gov domain that has the exact phrase violent crime. Of course, there's more. There's also Google Advanced Search, and Advanced Search helps you to navigate all of these that I mentioned earlier and even filter by languages even. So how do you get to this Advanced Search page? If you go to the landing page of Google search engine site, you will see that on the bottom right, there is this tool called Settings. Click on it and then select Advanced Search and you'll be redirected to the page. Now for today's challenge, use Google search operators to find PDF documents published by the Australian government referring to COVID-19 vaccination. And remember to explain your solution. Submit your answer at bit.ly/GNI_P1quiz or scan the QR code to get directly to the Google Forms. And guys, good luck!